When we think about climate change, what images come to mind? Towering smokestacks, churning black smoke into the sky, endless ribbons of highway clogged with cars pumping out exhaust. These are the icons of our climate crisis, the villains of our modern story. For decades, we've been told that the war for the planet will be won or lost in our power plants and in our gas tanks. But what if one of the biggest culprits, one of the most destructive forces on the planet, is hiding in plain sight? What if it's something we interact with every single day? What if it's on our dinner plates? This is the story of the climate killer we choose to ignore. It's a story that begins with an epiphany. Michael Grunwald, a veteran policy reporter who had written extensively about energy and climate, had a sudden realization. He, like most of us, was largely ignorant about agriculture. But the more he dug, the more he was horrified by what he found. He discovered that our food system is responsible for a third of the entire climate problem. It's a crisis of staggering scale, and most of us don't even know it's happening. As Grunwald put it, "Holy shit, this is a big deal and people don't know about it." Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the industry that's eating the earth. This isn't just about what you eat for dinner, it's about the future of the planet. To understand the impact of agriculture, we have to think in terms of scale, a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. Let's start with the land. Right now, agriculture uses 40% of the Earth's surface. Let that sink in. Nearly half of the habitable land on our planet is dedicated to feeding us, and the vast majority of that is not for the vegetables in your salad. It's for livestock. Animal agriculture alone uses a landmass the size of Africa. Then there's the climate impact. As we've learned, our food system is responsible for about a third of all greenhouse gas emissions. A huge portion of that comes from one source in particular: meat. Every year, humanity consumes 350 million tons of meat. It's a number so large it's meaningless. So let's try this. That's the equivalent carcass weight of nearly 1,000 Empire State Buildings every single year. And our appetite is still growing. This insatiable demand for meat, especially beef, is forcing us to constantly clear more land, felling ancient forests to make way for cattle ranches and fields to grow their feed. This is the heart of the crisis. Tim Searchinger, a brilliant and often nonconformist climate analyst at Princeton, has spent years trying to get the world to pay attention to this. His conclusion is blunt and terrifying. After analyzing the data on land use and emissions, he is adamant, if we don't get serious about land, we're fucked. Why is land so important? Because you can't separate the climate crisis from the land crisis. And to understand that, we have to destroy one of our most cherished myths. Picture a farm. You're probably imagining rolling green hills, a red barn, happy cows chewing cud in a pasture. It's a romantic, idyllic image. It's also a dangerous illusion. In his book, We Are Eating the Earth, Grunwald offers a radically different perspective. He writes, quote, "Every farm, even the scenic ones with red barns and rolling hills, is a kind of environmental crime scene, a pastoral echo of whatever carbon-absorbing wilderness it once replaced. An environmental crime scene. That's a powerful charge, but it's based on a simple, brutal reality. The most valuable thing land can do for the climate is to be left alone. Forests, wetlands, and grasslands are the planet's lungs, absorbing and storing vast amounts of carbon. When we clear that land for agriculture, we're not just destroying an ecosystem. We are releasing centuries of stored carbon into the atmosphere. It's a massive, one-time emission that happens before a single seed is planted or a single cow is raised. This is what Searchinger's groundbreaking research exposed. He first made waves by revealing that farm-grown fuels like corn ethanol were actually climate disasters masquerading as climate solutions. Why? Because the carbon released by converting forests and grasslands to farmland to grow that corn far outweighed any benefits from the biofuel itself. The same logic applies to our food. That steak on your plate has a hidden carbon cost that goes far beyond the methane the cow produced. It includes the ghost of the forest that was cleared to make way for the pasture. We simply cannot solve the climate crisis if we keep destroying the planet's natural carbon sinks. As Grunwald writes, we simply can't decarbonize the atmosphere if we keep vaporizing trees. It's like trying to clean the house while smashing the vacuum cleaner to bits in the living room. The problem seems insurmountable. How can we possibly feed a growing global population without continuing this relentless destruction? For a handful of radical entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, the answer wasn't to fix the farm. It was to reinvent food itself. The battle to change how we eat is being fought not in fields, but in laboratories. It's a race driven by a cast of compelling, often contradictory, characters. First, there's Pat Brown, the founder of Impossible Foods. A pioneering biochemist from Stanford, Brown approached the problem with what Grunwald describes as mad scientist confidence. He believed he could reverse engineer the taste and texture of meat using only plants, creating a burger so convincing that even hardcore carnivores wouldn't know the difference. His mission wasn't just to create a new product, it was to make animal agriculture obsolete. Then there's Josh Tetrick, the co-founder of a company that started as Hampton Creek. He was a different breed of entrepreneur. Grunwald portrays him as a little bit of a bullshit artist who was sort of faking it until he makes it. He was a rudderless searcher who spoke with incredible fluency about using capitalism to change the world, but had never actually done it. His goal was to engineer egg substitutes from plants, driven by a relentless, ultra-competitive ambition. And there's Ethan Brown, the vegan entrepreneur behind the other big name in the space, Beyond Meat. While portrayed as a more genuinely likable and mission-driven individual, his product didn't escape Grunwald's critical palate. He writes, with brutal honesty, that Beyond Burgers had an off-putting grassy aftertaste and, on the grill, they smelled like someone literally peeing in the wind. These entrepreneurs, with their mix of noble visions, massive egos, and flawed products, poured billions of dollars into a single, audacious goal: to crack the code of meat and create a new food system from the ground up. But Grunwald remains skeptical that this handful of mission-driven vegans can, by themselves, deliver the radical change the planet so desperately needs. The rise of plant-based meats has been a cultural phenomenon, but has it actually made a difference? Sales have stagnated, and the impact on the multi-trillion-dollar global meat industry has been negligible. It turns out, changing the way humanity eats is a lot harder than just making a better veggie burger. The brutal truth is, we are on track to deforest an area equivalent to another dozen Californias by the year 2050 if our consumption habits don't change. The scale of the problem is so immense that it demands more than just incremental solutions. This is where the conversation gets even more controversial. The race to save the planet is pushing science into uncharted territory. We're talking about lab-grown, cell-cultured meat, grown in bioreactors without ever needing to raise or slaughter an animal. We're talking about sustainable intensification, a concept that tries to increase livestock productivity while reducing the horrors of factory farming. And we're talking about gene editing, creating new crop varieties that are more resistant to drought and pests, allowing us to grow more food on less land. These are technologies that often make environmentalists uncomfortable. They challenge our ideas of what is natural. But the alternative continuing down our current path is a guaranteed catastrophe. The food and farming sector is, by some estimates, about 25 years behind the energy industry in its search for climate solutions. While the world is slowly embracing wind, solar, and electric vehicles, the conversation around a radical transformation of our food system has barely begun. The story of our food system is the story of a hidden crisis. A crisis of land, a crisis of emissions, and a crisis of imagination. We've been captivated by the romantic myth of the farm, while ignoring the environmental crime scene it so often represents. The technological fixes offered by Silicon Valley are compelling, but they are not a silver bullet. They are one part of a much larger, more complex puzzle. A puzzle that will require us to rethink our diets, our economies, and our entire relationship with the natural world. The path forward is not clear. It is fraught with difficult choices and uncomfortable compromises. But the one thing we can no longer afford is ignorance. We can no longer pretend that the choices we make at the grocery store and the dinner table don't have profound consequences for the planet. As Michael Grunwald concludes, after his deep dive into this daunting crisis, there is still room for a cautious kind of hope. It's not the hope of a perfect solution, but the hope that comes from trying. In his words, "I believe we can make shit better. It is a worthy thing to try." The question is, are we ready to start trying?